Welcome to this visual summary of the Cuebid Guide to Security Validation, also known as Automated Penetration Testing. This video walks you through the key concepts and insights from the guide. Download the full version at cuebid.se for a deeper understanding of how security validation and automated penetration testing can strengthen your business security and help you sleep better at night.
All right, let's just get right to it. As a business leader, you're investing in all the right things: firewalls, antivirus, security policies. But it all boils down to one single, really important question. How do you know any of it truly works in the real world? And that's the big question we're going to tackle today.
So first, let's get on the same page about what we're up against. You can forget that Hollywood image of some genius hacker in a dark room building a brand new super complex attack. The reality? It's usually much, much simpler. And honestly, that's what makes it so much more dangerous.
Take a look at this list. What's amazing is just how normal these entry points are. Attackers aren't always trying to blast through a steel door. They're just walking around, checking for an open window. We're talking about things like leaked passwords, a simple misconfiguration in the cloud, or a server that just missed its last update. This is the low-hanging fruit that leads to really big problems. And that last one, shadow IT, that's just any system that someone in the company set up without telling the IT department, which means it's totally invisible and unprotected.
And this quote just nails it. The word banal is perfect, isn't it? The biggest risks to your business aren't some exotic zero-day threat you see in the movies. No, they're the everyday, common-sense gaps that attackers have gotten incredibly good at finding automatically. So the big takeaway here is, if the threats have changed, then how we test for them has to change too.
And that brings us right to the evolution of security testing. For decades, we've been trying to find these gaps, but the methods we've used have had to change like crazy just to keep up. What worked back in the 90s, or heck, even 5 years ago, it just doesn't cut it anymore.
This timeline here, it really tells the whole story. We kicked things off in the 90s with vulnerability scanning. It was great for finding a ton of stuff, but it created these huge reports of maybe problems that were almost impossible to sort through. So then, in the 2000s, we moved to manual penetration testing, basically hiring good guy hackers. That gave us fantastic real-world results, but it was so expensive you could really only do it once a year. A few years ago, we got smarter about adding business context, but we were still just guessing at risk, not proving it. Which brings us to today, automated validation, which gives us the best of all worlds all the time. This comparison makes the change so clear. A manual pen test? It's like going for a really intensive health checkup once a year. Incredibly valuable, for sure. But what about the other 364 days? Automated validation, on the other hand, is like a continuous health monitor. Think of it as a Fitbit for your entire IT environment. It's an ongoing checkup, not just a single snapshot in time. And that shift, from a rare event to a constant process, is the biggest game changer in modern security.
So what is this new approach, really? Well, the absolute best way to think about it is like a digital fire drill, right? You wouldn't just hand out the fire safety manual and hope for the best. You practice. You run a drill to make sure the alarms actually go off and that everyone knows where to go. This is exactly that, but for your cybersecurity.
Put simply, security validation is what finally gives you the answer to that question we started with. It's all about getting real proof that your defenses, your procedures, and all that money you're investing are actually doing the job. It takes you from a state of hoping you're secure to knowing where you're secure, and, just as important, knowing where you're not.
So here's how that digital fire drill actually works. First, the system maps out everything. It finds every single door and window in your environment, even the ones you forgot about. Then, and this is the really clever part, it starts thinking like an attacker. It links together a few small, maybe even insignificant-looking weaknesses into a genuine attack path. Step 3 is the magic. It safely tests that path to prove it's real, but without causing any damage. So the result isn't some long list of maybes, it's a clear, simple map showing exactly how an attacker could get in, with a prioritized list of what to fix first. And then, once you've fixed it, you rerun the test to verify that the door is now locked for good.
And that right there, that's the whole ballgame. The old way of doing things gave your IT team a 100-page report of potential problems. This new way gives them a 1-page report with a proven attack path and a clear instruction: fix this first. It replaces all the guesswork with certainty. It's the difference between a weather forecast saying it might rain versus getting a picture of an actual leak in your roof.
Now, you might start hearing an industry term for this whole idea: CTEM, pronounced CTEM. It stands for Continuous Threat Exposure Management. It's just the official name for this shift away from yearly checkups to constantly managing and shrinking your attack surface, which is the sum of all your possible entry points. Okay, so this isn't just a cool new piece of tech. It's a real strategic advantage for the business. Making this shift to a proactive model has tangible benefits that everyone, all the way up to the board, can understand and appreciate.
Just look at this breakdown. For leadership, this is all about reducing risk, building trust with customers, and making smarter investments. You get clear, easy-to-understand reports that show risk actually going down. For the IT and security teams on the ground, this is an absolute game changer. They can finally stop drowning in endless reports and focus on real, proven threats. It saves them a ton of time, helps them prioritize their work, and, maybe most importantly, it proves that all the expensive tools you've already bought are actually set up right and doing their job.
And speaking of things leadership cares about, there's another huge driver here: compliance. New regulations are popping up that demand more than just having security policies written down somewhere. They want you to prove you're actively managing your risk.
A perfect example is NIS2, pronounced NIS2. It's a major EU directive that basically puts the responsibility for cybersecurity right on the shoulders of leadership. It requires you to show that you are continuously identifying and reducing your cyber risks. An automated validation process like this gives you the exact evidence you need to confidently show you're compliant.
And looking forward, this whole continuous approach, it's not just a nice-to-have anymore. It's becoming essential. Why? Well, there are three big trends pushing us here. First, attacks are just faster. The time between a new vulnerability being discovered and it being exploited has shrunk from weeks down to hours. Second, attacks are simpler. Criminals can just go online and buy ready-made attack tools. And third, our own environments are changing constantly. New cloud services, new software, every single day creates a potential new risk. An annual test just can't keep up with that pace.
So, the path forward is pretty clear, isn't it? It's all about making the switch from these infrequent, backward-looking checks to a state of continuous assurance, where you always have a real-time, real-world picture of how secure you are.
Ultimately, it really just comes down to this one question. Are you ready to see your security not just from your own point of view, but through the eyes of someone who is actively trying to get in?
And you know, the most important thing you can do is simply get started. Don't wait for the next annual check. The first step is just to learn a little more. You can download the complete, in-depth guide that we've based this summary on right now at cuebid.se. To get started or continue your cybersecurity journey, reach out to Cuebid, your expert partner in communication, data center, and security operations. Together, we help you build cybersecurity from the ground up. See you next time.